Pipology. In this topic, we're going to be understanding the unit of measurement used in the Forex CFD market. In order for us to do that, let's take some examples. Let's say you own one of three businesses. Number one being that you own a petrol station. Number two, let's say you own a butchery. And number three, you own a taxi business. Now, taking into consideration with number one, you own a business that works in liters. So which means that liters are literally directly proportional or equal to the amount of money that you'll make. So depending on how much you're selling each liter for, you can make a specific income for yourself. Okay? The same goes for someone that owns a butchery, because then the weight of the product, the weight of the meat, is the reason why you're making money. So then grams are directly proportional to the amount of money that you're going to be making in business number two. In business number three, you own a taxi, which means now in this business you get paid for the distance that you travel. So this way, or what this means is that meters are then directly proportional to the amount of money that you're going to be making. So this goes for us too who are in the trading business. Our unit of measurement is known as pips. So pips are equal to the amount of money, or directly proportional to the amount of money that you're going to make. So I want you to notice that money happens by default. Alright? If you have or are able to acquire the unit of measurement, you've won the game. Money is the product of that. So if you have the liters, you're going to make money. If you have the grams, if you have the meters, all the pips, you're going to make money. So money is not what we're here to do. We're here to acquire the unit of measurement. Please don't forget that. So unit of measurement, very, very important, because this is where your money is. Alright, without petrol, how are you going to sell the liters? Without grams, without the meat, what are you going to sell? Okay? So also let's look into what does a pip actually mean. So the word pip actually stands for percentage. Let me just quickly write it here. Percentage in point, which is basically the smallest increment or price movement any currency or any instrument can make. Okay, so this is how we look at the market. So I want to take an example on the MetaTrader 4 to show you how you can measure pips. Alright, so we're going to take from point A to point B and see how long or how far that distance is in pips. And then we're going to start working in money. So without further ado, let's take that example. Now that we understand that pips are just a measuring unit in the world of CFD trading, there's got to be a ruler or an instrument that helps us calculate or measure these pips. And in this world, it's known as the Crosshair, and it looks like this. Okay, so for this example, I'm going to be measuring the amount of pips from point A, which is at the bottom of this red candle, all the way up to point B. So it has to be right there, and then I'm going to drag it all the way to point B, right at the top of that candle. Alright, so you can see that the crosshair actually gives me three types or three different numbers. The first one is 46 dash, the other one is 1938, the next one is 1.34642. So I'm going to then explain to you what these numbers are. So after using the crosshair, this is the information that we got back. Alright, so let me just fill them in here. So the first one being the number 46, then followed by a 1938, and then 1.34642. Alright, now the one on the far left is known as your candle count. So basically it's counting the amount of candles between point A and point B. So since we're on the H1 time frame, this would mean that this is then 46 hours between point A and point B. So it took 46 hours to move that far. Alright, then the second number there, the 1936 is then your amount of pips, okay? And it's not actually set as 1,938 pips. It's actually 193.8 pips. So the last number always becomes the fraction or the decimal point. So just remember that very important point there. Then the last one on the far right is then your price, right, or your quote price. So it's the price at point B. So for measuring from point A to B, this is the price at point B. So basically it took 46 hours to move 193.8 pips to the price of 1.34642. That's what it means by using the crosshair and those three pieces of information. Okay, so let's move on so that we can then get deeper and show you how money relates back to the amount of pips that you make. To understand that, let's take a few lot sizes. Let me go to the white color. Right, now starting off with lot sizes, our smallest lot size is a 0. It's too small. Yes, our smallest lot size is a 0,01. Right, then it could be a 0,02, a 0,03, all the way until we get to a 0,10. So 0.10 for instance. And then we can keep going 0.11, 0.12, 0.20, and so on until we get to a 1,00. Then obviously a random one like a 0,57. Okay. Now in terms of volume and pips are basically one and the same thing, but they're expressed differently. So 0.01 is actually equivalent to 1,000 units of a currency. Okay, I'll get deep into it. A 0.10 will then obviously be 10,000 units of a specific currency. And then a 1.00, which is a standard lot, would then be 100,000 units bought of a certain currency. Then obviously a 0.57 should be somewhere above 10,000 because 0.57 is bigger than 0.10 but smaller than 1.00. So it should be a number in between. So obviously it looks like it's in the tens of thousands and it's a 5. So it should be 50. The 7 is there, it's in the thousands. So 7 should be here. So it's 57,000 units of the base currency. Okay, and what is the pip value? So the pip value is the amount of money made per pip moved. Right, not forgetting that we've made ourselves 193.8 pips from point A to point B. So if you use the 0.01 for each pip there, you would have made about, I don't know why it keeps doing that, stop shrinking. You would have made yourself about 10 cents per pip. Okay, if you use the 1.10, you would have made about $1 per pip. Then obviously if you use the standard lot, you would have made $10 per pip. Then obviously a 0.57. What you've noticed is that basically all that's happening here is that the comma is moving from this area to the next number. That's all that's happening. So all we have to do here to know what the pip value of a 0.57 should then be a $5.7. Okay, so here then will be $5.70 per pip, and that's the distance traveled. Okay, by understanding this, so I just want you to memorize this, digest this, so that you understand this. It's very important for you to understand the pip value, the volume value of your lot size. Okay, because this is the one control element or the control panel you have in the whole industry of why you're trading. And you'll understand this more when we get into risk management. All right, so let's put it into some practical examples. Let's make a few examples here. All right, so let's go back. Let's see, we have 193.8 pips. Let me write this down here. All right, so pips acquired 1 193.8. Okay, so those are the pips. Now I want to give you 3 examples using some of these lot sizes that we have up here, so that you can see that you can make different amounts of money in the same amount of pips depending on the lot size that you choose. Let's use yellow. Okay, let's say for example you used a 0.01, which in pip value would mean that you're making about 10 cents in dollars per pip. Alright, if you take that and you multiply it by the amount of pips you have, which is 193.8 pips, you have your money value. So basically, let me grab my calculator, I don't want to make any mistakes. Okay, so there we go. So we're gonna take 10 cents, so 0.10 times 193.8 equals 19.38. So you've made yourself $19.38. Okay, from A to B. Let's take another example. Let's say maybe you use the lot size like a 0.25. Now its pip value should be, then we move this comma here, so it should be 2.5. So you'd have made yourself $2.50 per pip. Amount of pips the same, 193.8. So basically when we do the maths there, it's gonna be $2.50 times 193.8 pips. That gives us 484.50 cents. Alright, so that's 484.50 cents in dollars. So same amount of time, same amount of pips, yet you've made more money because of the lot size difference. Alright, let's take the last example. Let's use a 0.11 for instance, which would have meant that for each pip you're making an average of $1.10 per pip. Same amount of pips, 193.8, which will then in return give us, let's do the maths, $1.10 times 190, I don't know, that's 193.8 pips times 1.1. Alright, gives you a total of $213.18. Alright, so I hope now you understand the importance of pips. If it wasn't for the pips that you've made, if you didn't make these pips here, you are never going to make the money that you make this side. Alright, because without the pips there is no money. You can't choose a lot size if you're not going to make the pips, or if the pips go in the opposite direction, means you're losing money at the same rate. So pips are literally the only reason, like I say, this is the only reason you're here, to make pips, not money. Right? Because your money is made up by the amount of pips that you make yourself. Alright, so that's it for Pipology. That's basically it. If you understand that each ticking second comes with the pip, the market is always moving, and what you're here for is actually to get into that market and cover distance in pips, and that's where your money is going to come from. Alright, so you're going to start understanding this once we get to the risk management section, okay, because pips are extremely important when we get to that point, because we want to calculate the risk beforehand. Before getting into the actual trade, we should already know what risk we are expecting from that trade. So that's it for Pipology. Leave me your comments below. Let me know if this video was spicy enough. Was it mild? Was it extra hot? What type of spice was I on right now? So let me know below. Leave me your comments. Until we meet in the next video. Peace.